힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
The major first decision of the martial law prompted impeachments has been made. So what does this mean? Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is back in office. The Constitutional Court dismissed the impeachment against the Prime Minister yesterday in a 5-1 vote. We'll get into the details of the vote in just a moment, but basically, Prime Minister Han is back in office. But what could this ruling hold for the upcoming impeachment ruling for the president? And what lies ahead for Korea's politics? These are two major questions. So we have one question answered, but many more remain. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, March 25th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, listeners, wavers out there. I hope you're all doing well. So we have some major news, of course, to share. The 8-person bench of the Constitutional Court yesterday ruled to dismiss the impeachment motion against Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, immediately reinstating him into office. So let's go through how the justices ruled. 5 justices voted to overturn the impeachment, 기각. And 4 of these 5 justices saying that Han's refusal to appoint the National Assembly's picks for the Constitutional Court was not in betrayal of the people's trust, warranting his removal from office. 2 justices dismissed the National Assembly's impeachment motion entirely, kakka, we would say, and only 1 justice voted to uphold the impeachment, 인용. So 6 of the justices did not see that there was enough evidence to show that Han actively took action to abet in the president's martial law declaration. So what does abet mean? Basically it means 범죄를 돕거나 부추기는 그런 행위를 의미하는 거고요. So with this, the prime minister is back in office as the acting president 87 days after the parliament passed a motion to impeach him. Han arrived at his office minutes after the verdict was announced, thanking the court and vowing to deal with urgent issues first. Once again, this is the first major ruling stemming from this whole martial law situation. And the biggest question mark looms, though. It's hanging over us like kind of like a gray cloud over the president's impeachment. We don't have that ruling yet, of course. We're going to follow the latest, give you the breaking news when it comes along. For now, though, later on in our program, we're going to talk about some really great ideas. So that's what we want to talk about today, this morning. What past, current inventions or idea do you find fascinating or innovative or just like really, really useful? So we're talking about past, current, and lastly, and I think this is so important, what kinds of ideas or invention do you want to see realized in the future? But it has to be something, okay, it doesn't have to be, but what about something that will be really helpful or useful in our daily lives? And I'll give you a couple examples in just a little bit. 내가 보기에 정말 기발한 감탄한 아이디어는 그러니까 현재 것뿐만 아니라 going back in history, like, oh my gosh, this is like the best invention ever. So 앞으로 더 사용화 발명됐으면 하는 아이디어, 그러니까 일상생활에 이런 거 있으면 정말 도움이 될 것 같아요 하는 거. For example, so I'm going to give you an example. I don't know about you, but sometimes like in the morning, I love coming to the station and being with you, but sometimes like I wake up and I think, I wish I could jump into the shower. This is so lazy, okay, of me. I wish I could jump into the shower and like automatically be washed. But I don't want like weird robotic hands like, washing me down. That's kind of eerie and scary. But something that would kind of immediately help me get clean. Some sort of like machine, I don't know, that would help sanitize me and get me clean all in like under a minute. I'd be happy with that. How about that? So, or do you remember have you guys seen the movie Clueless? Clueless, where like Alicia Silverstone, what was her name? Was it Cher or Sunny? One of those two names. She had like the automatic like wardrobe, picker outer thing where, she could like coordinate her outfits. And you know what? If I could get a coordinated outfit and have it slapped on me in like 30 seconds, that would also be nice because I hate like rummaging through my closet every morning, deciding what am I going to wear? What can I avoid to be twins, avoid being twins with Haley? But it fails every morning because usually we're wearing something very similar. By the way, not today though. Anyhow, something like that, something that might help you in your daily lives. You can send in your responses to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to the YouTube platform, search for BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you'll see our new logo. It's nice and pink. Click on it, subscribe, and log in chat with our other waivers. From your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. And speaking of phones, the smartphone, that's probably like one of the best inventions ever, right? Because we're all addicted to it. And you can also reach me for free through KakaoTalk as well. The ways you can listen to our program on the radio if you're in the Busan area, 90.5 or 103.3 FM. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, we're streaming live right now. You can watch again at your leisure. And we have two apps, the BFM app itself, our own app, and also the Patbang app where you can listen to Wagle. And looking ahead to our morning together, it's Tuesday. What does that mean? That means Andrew's coming in for Sports Insider and Bonnie with the health. For a special interview, we're going to be talking about the global tariffs that are looming. Speaking, I said earlier, looming like clouds, right? Countries kind of dreading this whole situation. The United States planning to implement new reciprocal tariffs targeting countries that impose higher tariffs on U.S. goods. So what will this mean for not just the U.S., for Korea and other countries all around the world? We're going to find out with our expert. That's coming up in hour number 2. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It's now 7:07. These are today's headlines. Wildfire spreads to Andong. Casualties rise. The wildfire in Uiseong, Gyeongbuk Province has spread to nearby Andong amid strong winds. In the meantime, the number of injured has risen to 11, all in Sancheong, Gyeongnam Province. Handoksu reinstated, pledges to protect nation's interest. Newly reinstated acting President Handoksu vowed to dedicate all his wisdom and abilities to protect the country's interests in the face of new U.S. tariffs. Hyundai to invest $21 billion in the U.S. receives tariff exemption. Hyundai Motor Group's executive chair, Chung Eui-sun, announced a $21 billion investment in the United States through 2028. Welcomed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Yoon's insurrection trial to formally begin on April 14th. The Seoul Central Court announced that President Yoon Suk-yeol's criminal trial on insurrection charges will formally begin on April 14th after the second pre-trial hearing yesterday. U.S.-Russia hold marathon talks over Ukraine ceasefire. Peace talks between U.S. and Russian officials in Saudi Arabia have ended after over 12 hours, with a joint statement expected the following day, according to local reports. And these are today's headlines. it's time for Busan Updates. We have Sue in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, let's jump into our text topic. Inventions, past, present, or hopefully future. Like, what do you envision?
So in the past, I was always fascinated by Japanese umbrellas.
Oh,
like
why?
from traditional ones, they're so beautiful, to really bizarre looking ones. Like they have chair umbrella.
Oh, chair umbrellas. Okay.
Yeah, that's you're just sitting on an umbrella, but that's a chair as well.
Ah,
it's so
okay.
interesting.
Okay.
You can look it up. And they got like shoe umbrella.
Shoe umbrellas.
Yeah.
That is so quirky. I'm going to look it up. I'm curious now. What else?
For future invention, like I always hate drying my hair. Like I'm using one of those supersonic hair dryer.
Sure.
And it's super loud. It hurts my ears.
Yeah. So
I just noticed. So I just want a hair dryer that's really quiet, silent, and super fast. So you can dry your hair for within a minute.
That'd be nice. In a minute?
It's every woman's dream, isn't it?
Yeah, and if it could dry it and style it too at the same time.
Okay. Great.
Because just drying doesn't do the job because you have to either curl it in or curl it out or straighten or 웨이브를 넣어야 되고 there's a lot to do.
That's a great idea. Yes.
Yes, okay, so let's add to that. Anybody out there, engineers? Yes, unite and make us a hairdryer. We're going to jump into our first Busan update. So Busan has been confirmed as the host city for the Mid-Season Invitational 2025 LCK Representative Selection Tournament. This is so long. So this is being deemed the world's largest esports event. So we need the details because I don't even know what I just said.
Any idea
what is this?
of LCK?
What is LCK? I know LOL, LOL.
Oh, okay. So yes.
League of Legends 그 정도는 알아요. 근데 what is LCK? What's LCK?
Because I'm not even I wasn't even aware of LOL, but then if they say League of Legends, okay, then that it clicks.
Okay.
So it's a multiplayer online battle arena game, and it became so popular, and it's a very competitive game worldwide.
Yes,
and it includes leagues like League of Legends Championships Korea. That's what LCK stands for.
So League of Legends Championship Korea is LCK. Got
yes.
it. Okay.
And there are League of Legends Championship Series and European Championship and the Global World Championship as well.
Okay.
So MSI is a mid-year tournament where top teams from each region face off. And the MSI 2025 LCK Representative Selection Tournament will decide which two Korean teams will compete in the MSI.
Sure.
And starting in 2025, the LCK switched to a single season format instead of two. It used to happen in spring and summer. So this Road to MSI tournament is a new addition, and it will feature the top 6 teams from the regular season. The format will combine a decider match and a King of the Hill style playoff, where the winning team will advance step by step.
Okay, now we know about all the different leagues. We're better schooled in this. Where will the venue be?
Can you guess?
Well, don't we have I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to guess. Okay, because I might be wrong. Just tell us. What is it?
Okay.
Where?
It will be held at Sajik Indoor Gymnasium.
Oh.
So this venue must be familiar to esports fans because the 2023 World Championship, part of it was held in there.
Yes.
And the tournament will run for 5 days with the final rounds taking place from June 13th to 15th at the gym. And LCK has gained massive popularity with 4 million daily viewers.
That's a lot.
Yes, and half of them are from abroad. And with all the attention on Busan, the city is expected to strengthen its esports hub status, and fans and players will enjoy various side events at the Sajik Gym. And the tournament is expected to bring around 10,000 to 11,000 visitors.
Ooh, that's definitely good for the local economy as well. So
Yes.
thanks for sharing that. Next up, let's talk about our city planning to support employment retention in the construction industry. So retention meaning 유지하다, to keep it, right?
Yes. So Busan will implement Busan Hope Employment Retention Support Project, providing up to 12 million won, 1,200만 won per company. And this program has been running for 5 years, and approximately 1,360 companies helped create and keep over 22,000 new jobs.
Yes.
And under this initiative, if local small and medium-sized enterprises and mid-sized companies fulfill an employment retention mutual growth agreement
Yes.
and maintain or expand employment for a year, then they will receive support for their employer-paid major insurance contributions.
I see. So what's the update this year?
So this year, a new category for employment retention support in the construction industry has been added. And in response to the recent decline in employment within the local construction industry due to economic downturn, companies can receive up to 12 million won in
Okay.
support. And small and medium-sized manufacturing businesses in industrial complexes with at least 5 regular employees, as well as companies involved in Busan's regional specialized projects,
Sure.
can receive up to 6 million won per company. And this support helps cover employer-paid insurance contributions as well.
I see. Thanks for letting us know about this one. Moving on, let's talk about this. Cooling systems will be installed at the 부평깡통 market here in Busan. So this is like the first permanent night market in the country, correct?
Yes. So since the market gets really hot due to high temperatures, cooking heat, and big crowds,
Yes.
visitors and vendors have had a tough time. So to fix this, Junggu District is installing 40 evaporative cooling devices along a 132-meter arcade. And arcades are designed to provide sheltered walkway so
Right.
people can shop in a more comfortable environment regardless of the weather. And speaking of arcades, the city is also planning to install arcades in Danggam Alley Traditional Market as part of facility modernization effort.
Right. And I want to correct myself. I said Bukyong. It's Bu평. The Bu평깡통
yeah.
market.
Oh, yes.
The international market, near, you know where it is, right?
국제시장,
Yes,
yes.
국제시장, right.
And the cooling systems will spray mist and air, and it lowers the temperature up to like 5 degrees.
Right.
And the project costs about 370 million won, with most of the funding secured. And once vendors contribute their portion, construction will start in May and finish by August, just in time for summer. And the market, which sees around 2,000 and 3,000 visitors on weekdays and up to 8,000 on weekends,
Right.
is expected to attract even more tourists with this new upgrade. And the district hopes this will improve the market's image and make visits more comfortable.
Right, and this, market is so historic. There's a lot of culture behind it, so go check it out. Once again, that's the 부평깡통 market in Busan. Lastly, in celebration of the 4th anniversary of the city's communication mascot, and we know, him, Boogie. So it's the Busadok Day Boogie Run 2025. There's an event that's going to be held on April 19th. That's coming up soon.
Yes, we all love Boogie, don't
Of
we?
course, of course.
Yes. This event is a walking program to promote the healthy lifestyle together with Boogie, and its fans are known as 부스러기.
Oh,
That's
hence
why
the
it's-
Busadok Day. Okay. So where is this event going to be held?
So 250 participants will do a light warm-up before walking a 3K kilometer course, enjoying the spring weather. And the walking route will pass through Busan Cinema Center, APEC Naru Park, Suyongyo Bridge, and Suyong Hyundai Apartment,
Sure.
and Chasuyongyo Bridge before returning to the starting point.
Yes.
And along with the walk, there will be a fine boogie event, and people can search for hidden boogie mascots along the route. And those who find them will receive exclusive boogie fan merchandise as a prize.
Nice.
And also there will be fun activities like face painting, postcard making, and boogie merchandise booths to make memories with boogie as well.
Well, of course, Boogie is a fan favorite, very popular here in Busan. So thank you for all the updates, and we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to your traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic report. It is now 7:19 on this Tuesday morning. So first up, there's been an accident on the Namhae Expressway going towards Suncheon, right past Daejeon Ramp. Also congested on Dongso Overpass from Pyeongnaek Ramp to the old Kaegum Tollgate. It's backed up on Gwangnam-no from KBS 3-way intersection to Dongbang 5-way intersection in both directions. There's heavy traffic on Mandok-daedo from Minam to Mandok intersection. And likewise, it's looking slow on Chungjang-daedo from Jungangdong intersection to Chungjang overpass. As for the weather, it is already 14 degrees Celsius here in Busan under clear skies. The daytime high will go up to 19 degrees Celsius. That's the good news. Unfortunately, both fine dust and ultra-fine dust levels are bad right now. Across the nation, dry air and strong winds along the eastern portion of the country with high risks of fire. Bad fine dust levels across the country, so make sure you have a mask in hand today. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, so springy today.
It is quite warm.
It is.
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, so let's get into our text topic. We're talking about inventions, past, present, future.
So past, I have a couple things. On the chat, the very well-known yellow chat, they let us delete messages now. And
Thank goodness.
whoever came up with that function, give them a huge promotion and a pay raise because... because for reasons that I cannot say on air. And then also, you know those mosquito zappers? The
Yes.
전기 모기채?
Tennis rackets.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean, as someone who has zero hand-eye coordination and tiny hands, catching mosquitoes with your bare hands is like an Olympic level sport.
Right. Plus, it's gross.
It's, well, yeah, that too.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, yay. And then for me, what's really interesting, you know how you're not about the early morning getting ready?
Right.
I hate the after work evening time. So it takes me like an hour and a half to take a shower because for an hour and 20 minutes,
What are you
I'm
doing?
sitting there.
Oh, just sitting there.
I'm like sitting outside the bathroom. Like I should
need
should
to
take a
go in.
shower. I should really take a shower. Like, why isn't there a machine that washes my hair automatically? Like, what are the scientists doing? That's me for about an hour and 15 minutes.
So we need one for the morning and
the
for the
evening.
PM
Yep.
at night.
Yep.
All right. We're going to get into our first update for News Digest regarding the wildfire situation. What's going on?
Right. So strong winds and the dry atmosphere throughout yesterday making the firefighting efforts extremely difficult.
Yes.
The most urgent situation is currently in Uiseong because, as you said, the fire has spread to the adjacent city of Andong.
Right.
The National Fire Agency has therefore issued a nationwide firefighter mobilization order, 국가소방동원력, which basically means that they can call in all the resources from across the country. So other similar orders are issued in other areas as well. So currently a total of 320 fire trucks from across the country. They have been dispatched to the fire-struck areas, including the vast majority of them, 226 in Uiseong.
Yes.
And because of the winds, though, the Uiseong fires are only 60% contained. The authorities had to shut down a 20-kilometer portion of the Chungang Expressway between Uiseong and Andong that has been lifted as of early this morning.
Yes.
Going to the other areas, the Sancheong fire is 88% extinguished. Additional injuries were reported yesterday. This is where we are seeing all of the casualties. The total comes to 4 deaths, as we know, 3 firefighters and 1 public official who was guiding them, 5 serious injuries and 6 light injuries. Over 3,000 people are still out of their homes on evacuation orders.
Yes.
So all active firefighting efforts had to stop overnight because the firefighting helicopters, they cannot fly during the nighttime, low visibility. So during the night, the authorities formed a line of defense and focused on containing the fires. And of course, firefighting has resumed upon sunrise.
Yes, indeed. Of course, first and foremost, the number of casualties of firefighters that are out there on the front line, our thoughts are with them. But let's also talk about property damage, also quite extensive.
Right. So as of right now, a total of 134 buildings have burned down, and this includes valuable heritage and natural heritage. So these Hancheong fires spread to parts of Hadong, and in Gyeongnam, a Gyeongnam natural heritage ginkgo tree, 은행나무, was significantly damaged. This ginkgo tree is located in Hadong's Duyangli. It's estimated to be 900 years old, and you can see on the left what it was, and on the right what it looks like right now.
Wow.
This is a massive tree, 27 meters tall, 9.3 meters around. Some branches, as you can see, are intact, but the vast majority has burned down. The tree is believed to have significant historical value as well, planted by General Kang Min-chum of Goryeo Dynasty, and the village people treated the tree as kind of a sacred symbol.
I see.
And also burned down in the fire is Tubangje, which is a shrine dedicated to the general.
Right. And it's kind of heartbreaking to see all the scenes, the before and after pictures. And then the weather has been quite bizarre.
It has been. So it has been both hot and windy, which is the worst combination for fires.
Right.
So this past weekend actually marked the warmest day in March in many southeastern regions since record-taking began. So for instance, on Sunday, temperatures in Gumi, Gyeongbuk province went up to 28.5%. That is a hot summer day. Once again, the highest. In Daegu, Hapcheong, Gyeongju, and Miryang and other Yeongnam regions, seeing temperatures going well over 27. And on the day that the fire started, Ulju County in Ulsan, their daytime highs exceeded 27 degrees as well. So the Korea Meteorological Administration, they're forecasting that the temperatures for the next couple days will be anywhere between 3 and 11 degrees higher than normal. So again, warmer temperatures, which leads to very dry conditions.
Right.
Add to that strong winds, the gusts of winds we're seeing. By the way, experts say that if we have a 2-meter long line of dry leaves, they'll burn up in about 7 minutes without any wind. But then if you add strong winds of about 6 meters per second, that entire line will burn up in 16 seconds as opposed to 7 minutes. By the way, wind gusts in parts of Gyeongbuk and Gyeongnam went up to 16 meters per second yesterday, which is why we're seeing these fires rapidly spreading.
Yes.
And the problem is it's not just today and tomorrow. These dry spring and summer days are going to continue because in the last 10 years, there have been over 540 wildfires per year on average. Around 300 of them take place between March and May. So we are kind of at the peak wildfire season.
Yes, indeed. And hence, we try to relay all the public service announcements throughout because we need to be really vigilant. Well, moving on to our next item, I talked about the ruling for Prime Minister Han Duck-soo in the opening. So let's now talk about some of the details, the takeaways from this ruling.
Right. So let's look at the numbers first. 5 overturned, 2 dismissed, and 1 upheld. So 기각 5인, 인용 1인, 각하 2인. What does this mean, first of all? So 기각 basically means that the court, the justices, they ruled on the issue and found the National Assembly's argument to be lacking. 인용, of course, they accepted the National Assembly's side. 각하 means they didn't even see any legal ground, so they dismissed it outright.
Yes.
So that shows how deeply divided the court is. So the two extremes on either end, we're looking at the more conservative-leaning Justice Kim Bok-hyung, who said that Han did not break any laws. And then on the more liberal side, Justice Jung Gae-sun, who deemed that Han's legal violations were grave enough to warrant impeachment. So she was the one upheld vote. The court, however, and this is the thing that we were looking for, didn't mention anything about the legality of martial law as pertaining to the prime minister. So they didn't mention anything about 비상계엄, 적법성, and that would have given us a glimpse into how they're leaning towards the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol.
Yes.
Pundits are also divided as to why this omission. Some saying that the court may not have reached a consensus even still, or others saying that they have, just don't want to write it into this particular verdict.
I see. So that is what happened yesterday, and we have a better idea of the thinking behind the justices. So what lies ahead for us this week?
Right. So some have begun to call this week the Judicial Super Week. Because
Yes.
first we had the ruling for the Prime Minister yesterday. Tomorrow, a major ruling for the Democratic Party chairman, Lee Jae-myung.
That's right.
This is the appeals case for his election election violation case. So in November of last year, Lee was found guilty of violating election law, sentenced to 1 year in prison, suspended for 2 years. But that, if that is confirmed, will revoke his seat in the National Assembly and ban him from running for office. So even if he is cleared by the appeals court tomorrow, the prosecution will likely take it all the way to the Supreme Court,
Yes.
and vice versa. If he is found guilty, his side will appeal it. And then there's a complicated timing battle between when or if or when the Supreme Court makes the final verdict versus also if when the presidential election will be held should President Yoon be impeached.
Sure.
Because what if, for example, he is elected and then the Supreme Court strikes down that election, right? So what happens then? So then, of course, the final question at this point is the when. When will the Constitutional Court announce President Yoon's verdict?
Yes.
So, of course, this will likely be earliest this Friday after Lee Jae-myung's verdict is announced. I mean, some are looking at even that going to the following week, which, by the way, it takes us very close to April.
Yes, indeed. And of course, there are concerns that are growing over security.
Right. And another fallout from the delay is that the longer it's delayed, the more tense, the more precarious the situation and the public grows.
Yes.
So there was this fatal self-immolation. A man set himself on fire by a President Yoon supporter and also his supporters throwing eggs at Democratic Party lawmakers last week. There's also precedents, dangerous precedents, because the worst case scenario did come from former President Park Geun-hye's impeachment. The day the Constitutional Court announced her impeachment back in 2017, there were fatalities because her supporters, they overtook a police bus, drove that into a wall of other buses, and in that process, 4 supporters died and over 60 people were injured.
Correct.
The police are therefore preparing for this worst case scenario, if not more. They're rehearsing for this with 2,700 officers. They're practicing against for when supporters attack the bus and what to do in those cases. And again, going back to 8 years ago, apparently 119 emergency calls came in every 10 minutes for a span of 6 hours. So we're looking at over 70 occasions.
Yes.
And the most urgent cases coming from those in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, so people on the older side. So it is an all hands on deck situation.
Yes, and here's hoping, regardless of which way the ruling comes down, that it'll be peaceful. That's what we can hope for. All right, lastly, let's talk about this massive, and I think massive might be a massive sinkhole in Seoul. I mean,
Disastrous.
have you seen the photos?
Terrifying. Right. So, I mean, I saw you guys talking about it on our board. So a 20-meter wide sinkhole opened up in Seoul yesterday, and it swallowed up a motorcyclist who is still missing.
Yes.
So the sinkhole, I mean, 20 meters, how big is it? It's 4 lanes wide. It opened up in 강동구 in Seoul yesterday evening around 6:30, and this was a road in front of a local elementary school. School has been canceled for the day.
Yes.
The sinkhole, I mean, you can see how it's out of a disaster movie. It's unreal. But as you can see, a motorcyclist fell in. A van was able to, literally physically bounce out at the very last second.
It doesn't even look real, but it's so real.
It is, right. So the motorcycle is still at large because according to the local fire chief, it may take dozens of hours, 수십 시간, because number one, there are 2,000 tons of soil and water inside that sinkhole. It's actually expanding. Rescue workers are down there right now looking for the missing man, but really visibility issues and safety issues are preventing any rapid search. The van driver, as you saw, was injured as well.
Oh, yes. And so questions, so many questions, but how and why?
Right.
How did this happen?
Right. So there was apparently some road repair work being done around a drain near that sinkhole. It ended an hour before that sinkhole opened up. But fire authorities say that this was likely from a pipe burst. And there was also, so there's the pipe burst right underneath the surface. Under that, subway expansion construction. And we've seen similar cases in Busan as well.
Sure.
Of course, the relevant authorities will conduct an investigation, but that's where we are.
Well, first and foremost, I hope that they are able to locate that missing man.
right.
And we just hope and pray. So thank you so much for going over all the news, and we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
And back to you, the waivers out there. We are talking about inventions. 이것 때문에 인생이 너무 편해졌다. 혹은 something that you wish would be invented is what we're looking for today as your text topic. So looking at some of your responses. Okay, so we have Benny texting in. Saying the fax machine he thinks is like a great invention. And the reason is that, and he says we can have a little bit of twist by adding a message device. So Leslie also saying this. In the old show Star Trek, the doctor had a tool called, I remember this, a tricorder that he held in his hand, and he would like scan someone and to get a diagnosis with what was wrong with them in less than a minute. I think we're getting there, but probably not quite like that quick. But that would be amazing, right? Just hold the device up to somebody and say, scan you. 여기 아파요, 저기 아파요. 질병 이런 겁니다. Without all the invasive like checkups and like procedures, that would be amazing. And so, so she says it would prevent people from going through endless tests to come up with a diagnosis. So that is definitely one that, yes, I am on board with. But the fax machine, that's also a great invention. Although these days, like, do you guys have it, like the mobile fax option on your phone? Yeah, there is. Haley's looking at me like, really? I use it all the time. It's so convenient when they say, can you fax something in? I'm like, do we carry a fax machine? Apparently we do. You can download an app on your phone, and I use it all the time. So convenient when they say fax something over. So check it out if you haven't. Let's get to Kat's Pick. All right, for today's Cat's Pick, I wanted to give you an update because, we've been following the story of Pope Francis, but I wanted to give you at least some bit of good news. So it does seem he has been released from the hospital. Let's get a clip from Good Morning America.
Turning to Pope Francis now, back at the Vatican after he was released from the hospital following a 5-week battle with pneumonia.
For weeks, people all over the globe were praying for Pope Francis as he suffered from a serious illness in the hospital. And then over the weekend, those prayers were answered.
This is the moment so many had been praying for. For the first time since he was hospitalized more than a month ago, Pope Francis appearing in a wheelchair from a balcony at Rome's Gemelli Hospital Sunday, waving and smiling. With a weakened voice, the 88-year-old addressing the crowd, speaking only a few words and acknowledging a woman holding flowers that he spotted in the crowd.
Sì, a tutti. E vedo questa signora con I fiori gialli. Che brava.
The Pope appearing to struggle to lift his arms to bless the crowd. The Pope then released from the hospital and heading back to his Vatican residence. The pontiff first hospitalized with bronchitis on February 14th. It later developed into pneumonia. Doctors say he overcame 2 life-threatening crises.
The Holy Father was never intubated, and he always remained alert and oriented.
One cardinal in a report saying Francis will now have to find another way of being Pope, less visible and less active, will not be able to travel, and may not be able to attend many meetings. But for 1.4 billion Catholics around the world, their prayers finally answered.
It was good to see him at least looking a bit better than he was the last time.
There's a lot we don't know about the Pope's schedule, including for Easter next month. The Vatican has not announced any papal ceremonies or future events. All of that will depend on his recovery. But guys, just so good to see him well enough to leave the hospital.
So as you heard in that clip, he is back. And the thing is this, though. Doctors, they have asked him to take it easy. 2 months of rest has been, kind of the prescription. However, he's well known to be very much a kind of a workaholic. He really does work long hours, but he's getting up there in age, 88. So how much of a role can he return to as he still faces a bit of an uphill battle in terms of coming to terms with how healthy he can get? This was Kat's pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for Andrew and the Sports Insider. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great. It was interesting. I was listening to you talk about Pope Francis and just thinking, I was like, man, he is getting up there in age. And then when you said 88, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's...
Well, he's out of the
down.
hospital.
Slow down.
The news, right,
Yeah.
right. But how much of his duties
Yeah.
he can tend to, before he got sick?
Exactly.
Is a big question. And with Easter coming up, people are worried.
Yeah, it's a busy time around that area, so for
Yes,
sure.
yes. All right, text topic time.
Sure.
Inventions, past, present, and future.
Okay.
Ooh. So, what do you think are the most useful inventions or something that you want to whip up? Say, hey, I wish they would make this.
Oh, geez.
Yes.
Well, I think, electricity would probably have to be up there, as a big one.
Yeah.
For
Along
sure.
with the wheel.
No, but I mean, the light bulb.
The light bulb.
Something like that. Smartphones.
Our producer said 재미없대.
I don't. Okay, I didn't know which road you wanted me to go down with this. All right. Handcuffs. No, I don't know. I mean, where do you want to go with this?
For what?
Oh, no, to keep the producer out of here.
Okay.
So we can keep her out of here.
Okay.
I don't know. Washrooms close by. Not really sure.
It could go on and on. I mean,
No,
technically,
in the future, I don't know. Where could we go? I would like a teleport machine.
That's on our board as well. Yeah.
Teleport machine.
Who doesn't want a teleport
I'd
machine?
like to be able to jump, meaning jump from area to area.
순간이동.
Yeah, so, just be able to go and snap my fingers, but not like Thanos.
Oh, you're good at snapping your fingers.
I'm a bit odd. On my right hand, I use my third finger. On my on this hand, I use my second finger. My middle finger.
How can you snap with your... Oh, that's hard.
I think because when I was a kid, I used to...
Yes.
Do you ever used to fold your fingers over?
Yeah, all the time.
I used to do that
And my
all the
mom
time.
would be like, can you stop doing
I think
that?
I stretched the ligaments of my fingers. I don't know.
Okay, kids out there, be careful.
All right, so for sports, we're going to start off with a clip here. Now, I want you, because Kat doesn't know what this is.
He literally kept on saying, don't look at the script, don't look at the script. I'm
you
like,
need to guess what sport this is.
Okay, let's
I
try.
think you should be able to get it. Our listeners
Okay, here we
kind
go.
of chime in, too.
Make hard! Hard! You gotta go! You can nose it on either side.
피디님 다시 하면 안
No,
될까요?
no.
둘 다 꼽아야 돼. Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, my goodness. I
What
love
is
this.
It? What is it?
You really have no idea? Any listeners want to chime in? Someone's got to be on the ball here.
한 번 더 다시.
Oh, this is great.
Hard! Hard! You gotta go! You can nose it on either side.
Do I need a broom?
Yeah. Did you hear any Korean in there? There was
I don't
a
know.
bit
People
of
are
Korean.
saying Youngmia or I don't know. Is that
there
what's going
you go. It's not the same team. All right,
It's not
but
the
it's the
same
same sport.
Yeah.
So that was from the World Curling, their YouTube channel, because the World Championships were held in Uijeonbu last week.
May I look at the script now?
Yeah, you can flip it over now.
What we're talking about.
I was just curious. There was a couple of clips I was going to use, but I
Yes.
didn't want to try to give away too much. But yeah, so that was from the LGT World Women's Curling Championships held in Uijeonbu here in Korea. It saw the home team make it into the semifinals and secure their place in the Winter Olympics next year. Obviously, Skip Kim Eun-ji was looking to medal, at least especially on home soil. You know what I mean? And definitely had a chance. But I think their ultimate goal going into the tournament was to secure a place in Italy next year, which I think that's everyone's kind of goal, to make sure that's, in the bag first.
Yes.
Now, they had a fantastic round robin finish, 10-2, placing second behind Switzerland. Now, their performance, like I said, has guaranteed them a spot, but then they went into the semifinals and they faced Canada. And that was from the clip we heard.
Canada.
That was from the semifinals, exactly.
And what happened?
Went into extra ends. Canada ended up winning 6-5. But it was actually, I watched this. It was pretty amazing. And, actually, the skip Kim Eun-ji had the last rock, had the chance to, all she had to do, I say that like
Did
it
you
was
just
something.
call it a rock?
That's what it's called, a rock.
Stone.
No, they're rocks. You just throw
Really?
rocks at houses, yeah.
Oh, they don't
Stones
call it
and rocks.
stone?
Yeah, you call them both.
Okay.
But it's a funny thing because in curling, it's the only sport you throw rocks at houses because the rings are called the house.
Oh, I thought it was okay.
There you
I
go.
stand corrected.
But
Rocks or
you do
stones?
use stones.
Yeah,
you use
yeah.
stones, all right? And rocks, okay.
Yes.
So she had a chance in the very last stone of the game. It was in her hand, and it just didn't go the way she wanted. And then in the bronze medal, they lost to China 9-4. I just really think they gave it their all in that semifinal match. And then it was kind of like, all right, if we get something, we do. If not, whatever.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
To Canada and all the people who guessed correctly because people are chiming in.
Love it.
Kept
I
on
love
saying
this.
like, I was right. Yes, you were, Leslie. You
Yeah.
were right. Along
Well
with
done,
a
Leslie.
bunch of other,
And everyone else?
yeah, not everybody else, but a couple people like Layla was real early on saying,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you know what? I was actually wondering if anyone would say, "Hey," like type that in because from the Olympics that were here in South Korea, they were a hit, right? So, curling is on the rise in South Korea. It's fantastic.
I'm reading a comment.
Sure.
I don't know if I should read it, but
Oh, come on.
Jill Lee says, 앤드루님 왜 이렇게 멋져요? 여전에도 그랬지만 외모 칭찬 괜찮죠? You understood that, right?
There we go. Moving on.
Yes.
So, World Cup qualifiers. Did you watch this game last week?
I did.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Any profanity thrown at the TV?
I'll be honest. Just a lot of just being underwhelmed.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best word to use to describe it
Right.
and I think the rest of the country would probably agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
And even the manager would as well. So South Korea, I almost just said lost, but it was a draw against Oman last week on Thursday in Goyang. Now, Hwang Hee-chan opened the scoring late in the first half with a composed finish, and it was a great ball through by Lee Kang-in. He came on because someone got injured, and actually I thought, all right, this is the start to get this before halftime. They roll into the second half, and it was like they went in to the dressing room and they were like, oh, okay, we don't need to play hard anymore. Came out, and they just didn't have the energy. And flopping around, and the thing is, most of those teams from the area where Oman's from, if you give them a sniff, they're going to take it. And that's what happened. They ended up scoring late, bringing it back to a 1-1 draw, which leaves Korea with 15 points, a slim 3-point lead over second place Jordan, who kind of overtook Iraq in that group, which was surprising for a lot of people.
Right.
All right, so next up, South Korea does face Jordan tonight at 8 o'clock at the Suwon World Cup Stadium. Now, them just being 3 points behind, a draw for them keeps them in the hunt for that top spot. But a win for South Korea all but secures them that spot in the 2026 World Cup for Canada, U.S., and Mexico. Now, Coach Hong Myung-bo did go out to the media, I believe it was yesterday, and was saying that, the nation is dealing with a lot of stuff right now with the wildfires and everything going on.
Yes.
Hopefully we can deliver something for them and bring people's spirits back up, which would be...
We don't want to draw. We want to win.
Yeah.
Let's be honest,
yeah.
right?
I think, more than a win, a commanding win.
Yes.
To show people that they still have it, they're able to get through it, and hopefully, I'm assuming Lee Kang-in's going to probably start from the off on this one. If he doesn't, I think there's probably something wrong. But hopefully, Song Min and Hwang Hee-chan can get the job
Let's
done
hope
as
that
well.
he has recovered, though, from his injury, though, to be able to start. I don't know. We'll see. That's coming up real soon.
He'll be all right. All right.
All right.
Baseball. Hey, we got to report the news, whether it's good or bad. So
No,
Lotte
like,
Giants.
Happy optimism,
Yes.
as always, in the beginning of the season.
Sure, start to the 2025
Yes.
KBO season. It was a bit rough for Lotte up in Seoul at Jamsil on Saturday and Sunday. The LG Twins decided they're going to score a total of 22 runs in 2 games against the Lotte Giants. It was a pretty even split between both games. So starting pitcher Charlie Barnes struggled, giving up 3 runs in the first inning of the home opener for LG, and it was there was a home run. It looked like he was settling back in and then got kind of pulled out of the game a little early. Sunday's game wasn't any better. And, Moon Bo-kyung, the guy who hit a home run on Saturday, was at it again, hitting another first inning home run off of Park Se-young. So he's just on the ball. Now, I think there was some good ball in there. I watched a lot of the game on Saturday and some of the game on Sunday. I just think that it's early. You know what I mean? They're just working out some kinks. That stadium in Jamsil was absolutely rocking.
Yes.
I can just imagine how things are going to be this week here at Sajik when they welcome the Kium Heroes to town. So I don't know if there's tickets still available for tonight. Even though it's a midweek home opener, I could probably go out on a limb here and say it's probably sold out just because it is a home opener. And it's going to be a beautiful day outside as well. Do you know what I mean? I mean, the dust
Most
is a little...
importantly, we hope they do well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes,
it'll
let's be
all right.
optimistic. All right.
Yes. Lastly, I do have to give our well wishes to the family of George Foreman. I mean, I'm sure everyone recognizes this name. One of the all-time greats in boxing history.
Yes.
Unfortunately, passed away last week at the age of 76. His family announced his peaceful departure on social media, stating that he was surrounded by his loved ones during his final moments. Now, for our listeners who are wondering, George Foreman, I know that name, not sure. Maybe you also know him for his grill? The grill?
That's true.
I don't know if they were popular in Korea or not.
Think so.
I don't think so, but they were a staple in every campus dorm room.
Yes.
And some dorms actually banned them because you
don't want to start a fire.
They were leaving them on. They were
Right.
like the hot plate, right?
Right.
But he's known for, he was the oldest heavyweight champion at 45 years old in 1994. He also won Olympic gold in 1968 and is famous for many of his fights, but one of the most infamous is the Rumble in the Jungle against Muhammad Ali in 1974, where he said he went into that match with 2 belts and felt like he got everything stripped off of him before he came out, because Muhammad Ali looked like he was down, he was back, he was down, and Foreman, I thought he won the fight, and Ali had other plans for him. So,
yes.
Our best wishes to his family, and thanks for all the memories, because, an absolutely remarkable career that spanned multiple decades. So, yeah.
Well, is that how we're going to end it?
Yeah, we're going to end things there, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. And we have a request from Leslie, waiting patiently for Andrew to talk NCAA basketball.
I was actually going to talk about that, Leslie, but I'm kind of waiting until it gets into the next round. And
maybe next week?
Yeah, all the upsets. I'm hoping for some upsets.
Okay.
All right, so don't worry. I promise.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, bye-bye.
Everybody, this was Sports Insider with Andrew. And let's get to final song of hour number 1. Do you know this one? You probably know it just from the beginning. You hear it? Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance, crush a speaker that booms. I'm killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom. Deadly, when I play a dope melody. Anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it, you better gain weight. You better hit bullseye, the kid don't play. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. is all pumping. Quick to the point, no faking. Cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. Burning them, if you ain't quick and nimble. I go crazy when I hear a cymbal and a hi-hat with a souped up tempo. I'm on a roll, it's time to go solo. Rollin', hit my 5.0, put my rag top down so my hair can blow. The girl is on standby, waiting just to say hi. Did you stop? No, I just drove by, kept on pursuing to the next stop. I bust a left and I'm heading to the next block. The block was dead, yo, so I continue to A1A. Beachfront Avenue. Girls were hot, wearing less than bikinis. Rock men lovers, driving Lamborghinis. Jealous, cause I'm out getting mine. Shade with the gauge and vanilla with the 9. Ready for the chumps on the wall. The chumps acting ill because they're full of 8-ball. Gunshots ranged out like a bell. I grabbed my 9, all I heard was shells falling on the concrete real fast. Jumped in my car, slammed on the gas. Bumper to bumper, the avenue's packed. I'm trying to get away before the jack is jacked. Police on the scene, you know what I mean? They passed me up, could run it all the dope fiends. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. I'm a lyrical poet. Miami's on the scene, just in case you didn't know it. My town that created all the bass sound, enough to shake and kick holes in the ground. Cause my style's like a chemical spill. Feasible rhymes you can vision and feel. Conducted in form, this is a hell of a concept. We make it hype, and you want us to print this. Shape plays on a fade, slice like a ninja, cut like a razor blade so fast. Other DJs say, damn, a rhyme was a drug, I'd sell it by the gram. Keep my composure when it's time to get loose. Magnetized by the mic while I kick my juice. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby.
Your bridge to the world.
과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Want to be a friend of BFM 부산영어방송? You can chat with BFM through our Kakao Talk service. You can share your messages and photos through Kakao Talk, and you can easily become BFM's Kakao friend by searching BFM through the Find a Friend option. Come share and chat with us at BFM anytime, anywhere for free. Don't forget to add BFM 부산영어방송 to your Kakao friends list.
Man, I haven't got a chance. I call him.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning. Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It's now 8 o'clock. This is news highlights. Wildfire spreads to Andong. Casualties rise. The wildfire in Uiseong, Gyeongbuk province has spread to nearby Andong amid strong winds. In the meantime, the number of injured has risen to 11, all in Sancheong, Gyeongnam province. The ongoing wildfires have impacted a total of 10,584 hectares of land so far, with Uiseong impacted the most. So far, the Sancheong fires have been 88% extinguished, Ulju 95%, and Kimhae 99%. The government yesterday designated Ulju, Uiseong, and Hadong as special disaster zones on top of the designation of Sancheong earlier. These areas can receive government-wide support measures. Han-duks are reinstated, pledges to protect nation's interests. Newly reinstated acting President Han Duck-soo vowed to dedicate all his wisdom and abilities to protect the country's interest in the face of new U.S. tariffs. Earlier in the day, the Constitutional Court dismissed Han's impeachment, although it did not issue a ruling on whether the December 3rd martial law incident was lawful or constitutional. The presidential office and the ruling party welcomed the verdict. The opposition Democratic Party, however, expressed regret over the decision while urging Han to appoint the Constitutional Court Justice candidate Ma Eun-hyuk. Hyundai to invest $21 billion in U.S. receives tariff exemption. Hyundai Motor Group's executive chair Chung Eui-sun announced a $21 billion investment in the United States through 2028, welcomed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Announcing the plans alongside Trump at the White House, Chung said the company will invest $8.6 billion for the automotive sector, $6.1 billion for the steel industry, component parts and logistics, and $6.3 billion for future industry sectors and energy. Trump stressed that Hyundai's investment is a clear demonstration that his tariff policy very strongly works, and said that Hyundai will not have to pay any tariffs for making its products in America. Yoon's insurrection trial to formally begin April 14th. The Seoul Central Court announced that President Yoon Suk-yeol's criminal trial on insurrection charges will formally begin on April 14th after the second pretrial hearing yesterday. The court said that the Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sang-mok and Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol will testify at the first hearing as witnesses for the prosecution. Yoon was not present at court yesterday, unlike the first pretrial hearing, as preparatory hearings do not require the defendant's attendance. U.S.-Russia hold marathon talks over Ukraine ceasefire. Peace talks between U.S. and Russian officials in Saudi Arabia have ended after over 12 hours, with a joint statement expected soon, according to local reports. This follows a similar meeting a day earlier between American and Ukrainian delegations aimed at ironing out the details of a possible limited ceasefire in the war in Ukraine, including allowing Ukrainian ships to export grain across the Black Sea. As the talks were going on, Russia carried out a missile attack on the northern city of Sumy. Kyiv called on Russia to stop the attacks instead of making hollow statements about peace. And this was News Highlights. It's time for Waglwa글. Haley's back.
Hello.
And I was taking a look at some of our messages. You know, one invention that people are like really agreeing with.
What is it?
I believe Junwon was the one who talked about, I think, air conditioning. I mentioned this like during every summer, like to my family, like, can you imagine being back in, let's say, I don't know, the Joseon days in Korea? Like, how do they survive? Probably it wasn't this hot, but still,
right,
wearing layers upon layers.
Yeah, I mean, but then they were wearing like
air
the sambe. I mean, the fabrics are breathable, but
still,
but the AC. I mean, thank
the
you,
layers,
Mr.
though.
Carrier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Layers upon layers. Anyhow, we're going to begin with something quite serious with the wildfires. All of these wildfires started from human negligence. And the question is this: will those responsible be punished?
Right. So we will see. But why are we talking about this? Because it has been tentatively ruled that all the major fires we're talking about were fires caused by human mistake or negligence. In Korean, we call that 실화. So for one, the Sancheong fire, which led to 4 people dying and others injured, that was caused by sparks from a weed trimmer at a farm, and this was called in by a worker at this farm. 의성 fire. This was caused by a group of people visiting their family grave, 성묘, and they told the police they started the fire while, quote, tending to the grave. But why would you need to have flames while you're trimming your loved one's graves? I don't know. Well, a witness actually said that they saw this group of grave tenders running down the mountain from where the fire started. This person kind of held them up and told them to stay here, don't go away, and even took photos of the license plate. So this person was very vigilant and found a lighter at the site of the fire. In Kimhae, a cemetery caretaker was burning trash when the fire began. So once again, all these cases, human mistakes.
Yes.
So if these fires, of course, once again, tentative, but if they are confirmed to have started from negligence, then these individuals may be prosecuted under the Forest Protection Act, 산림보호법, which says those who burn someone else's forest from their own negligence or burns down their own forest but puts public in danger may be subject to up to 3 years in prison or up to 30 million won in fines.
Yes.
And by the way, if one starts a wildfire on purpose, then the punishment vastly increases to up to 15 years.
Ooh, yes.
Realistically, though, so that's the law. How have they been applied? Well, there's always a gap, right? In cases of negligence, first-time offenders, or if the perpetrator is older, they do end up getting lighter punishment. So let's look at the massive wildfire from Gangneung back in 2017.
Okay.
2 people were found to have been guilty of starting the fire out of negligence. They were sentenced to 1 year in prison each, but suspended for 2 years, so no one really served a prison sentence.
I see. So, once again, human negligence. We are causing these types of fires. So let's be careful.
Mistakes happen, but we are, again, talking about 4 people dead. And how many hectares of land burned through?
Yes. Let's move on. A baseball season has started to the most popular reception ever, because we're talking, Andrew just mentioned, evidenced by 2 straight days of fully sold out seats. And this popularity is also evident in grocery stores.
Right. So usually we can, of course, measure how popular a game is by the seats sold, concession stands, maybe even like the delivery apps. But what about grocery stores and convenience stores? The hot new commodity is 크보빵.
What is that?
So what is that? The KBO pastries. And you can
kubo.
Kubo, KBO,
Got
kubo. So like I think in Korea, the pastries, 빵 is the metric of how uber popular you are.
Yeah.
So right, show of hands, who remembers 국진이 빵? After the very famous household name Kim Guk-jin, the comedian. And then after him, was there an H.O.T. 빵? Oh yeah, there was an H.O.T. 빵. There was a Pinker 빵.
Oh really?
Yeah. So if you've made it, you have a 빵 named after you.
We need a morning wave.
We need
a 빵 right now.
We need an MWB 빵.
Yes.
Yes, I would like it to be chocolate. In any case, and then you have like the characters and the little monsters that come out of your pockets, and now the baseball players. So they have the teams. Different teams have different flavors with the stickers, with KBO players, mascots, and it is all there except for the Lotte Giants. So, yeah.
And as 성환 said, 롯데는 왜 없을까요? Why? 빵이 왜 없을까요? So, yes.
Your response is exactly what my friend said.
롯데는 야구부터 잘 하는 걸로. Am I allowed to say that, like, beginning of the season, 초는, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's, knock on wood, cross our fingers, knock on whatever we have to.
I sent
Good
this
luck.
link to my friend's chat group, and my friend, who's a diehard Giants fan, she's a diehard fan, and she was like, her response was like, 왜 져서? Is it because they lost? Was her question.
No.
Girl, no.
But it was pretty lopsided, the wins, so it was bad. Right, so why are the Giants excluded from this lineup?
This has nothing to do with baseball.
Okay.
It is a corporate decision. It's a business decision because Lotte has its own bakery brand.
No duh.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
This kubolbang is a collaboration between SPC Samlip and KBO, and Lotte, which has its own bakery brand under Lotte Well Food, refused the collaboration, but they were the only one. So the Giants, at least as of right now, they have no plans to create their own pastry, and more importantly, the stickers. But they say they'll likely make photo cards to appease the fans, but fans say mostly they're disappointed because Lotte fans are loyal, if not anything.
They are.
But you know who's really happy about it? My friend whose son is a diehard Giants fan, so she doesn't have to buy crates of the pastry. So parents, I think, are a little happy.
Are photo cards enough? I don't know. You tell us. Well, this isn't the only case of, clashes with teams and brand collaborations. We're talking about intellectual property, IP.
Right. So, it has so many, dimensions. So the well-known smartphone case, the KC something.
Yes.
They're also doing a collaboration with the KBO teams. So now all teams have their own iPhone and Samsung cases, except for the Lions.
Because
they are owned by Samsung.
That's right.
And Samsung makes the Galaxy, so they only have the Galaxy cases. Intellectual property, man.
IP is important.
Yes, it is.
Yes, protect. All right, now let's go back to our text topic. We're talking about brilliant, innovative ideas. So
right. So mosquito, zappers, air conditioner.
Before you go in?
Yeah.
Oh, she wants me to read it later. Okay, so I was going to read it right now.
Can we
because
read
we're
it
talking
now?
about inventions,
we can,
right?
We can.
Okay, Tommy, I really need to have a translator to know what my room controller is saying. This is actually really smart because sometimes what we say isn't what we mean.
Oh.
Don't you find that some people can't read between the lines? 그러니까 그 눈치가 없을 때는요. 센스가 없다고 하죠. 눈치보다 센스가 없을 때는 진짜 그런 번역기가 있으면
you need
좋을
the
듯해요.
눈치 glasses or the 눈치 headphones that'll give you what that means.
My roommate needs ones as well. He needs
maybe
one.
they can do 공구. Maybe you can group buy.
1+1.
Yeah,
maybe
all the husbands can get in on it together. But brilliant, real, innovative ideas. And these are always seemingly small, but they can save lives. So March 5th was 경칩. It's one of the traditional solar seasons where the hibernating animals wake up from their slumber. But let's just imagine you're that animal. Say a frog. And we're doing reverse Princess and the Frog, going frog.
Okay.
And when you wake up, the world is a different place. You're trying to get to a pond to to breed and mate. But then there's a big old wall where it wasn't. What are you going to do about it? you're only a frog. So this is actually what did happen to the amphibians, the frogs and the toads, at Gyeonggi's Bundang Chungang Park.
Okay.
Because during that winter, the city had installed a curb, which, for us, that's like about, half a foot tall. But for the frogs, it's a giant wall.
Oh.
It's a giant wall. So a public input came into the Seongnam City office saying that these frogs and toads cannot jump over this curb.
Yes.
So what did they do? So the official at the city's park office, Mr. Bae-yeon-woo, came up with a small but brilliant idea. The ramps, the steps.
Which you can see on our YouTube page right now.
So
That is so
he
brilliant.
made a ramp with these wooden blocks. You stack them like steps so the frogs can literally just climb over. So he said before the simple solution, he did contemplate tearing down the curb, but of course, that's taxpayer money, that's construction. Wanted a simpler, less expensive solution because these blocks, the steps takes just 200,000 won, 20만 won, to install them.
그게 20만 원이에요?
And I think because you have to fix them down because you're not just taking random blocks and then the wooden ramp.
Okay.
As
I was
well.
going to say those stones.
Right. So that's definitely more stable. The steps are temporary, so they are removable from February to June when the frogs and toads they mate, breed, and the tadpoles, once they grow up to be frogs, get out of the pond and go back to land. And this is also really popular with children.
I'm sure.
And it's a great learning opportunity because it'll say things like 개구리 산란 경로 and kids are like, well, what is 산란? 두꺼비 산란 이동 경로. And it's a great lesson in explaining to them what that is, biology, and maybe, you can take them and they will squat around the ramp waiting for a toad to come. By the way, experts say that toads, 두꺼비, they're really important because they are one of the first animals that lay eggs in the spring. Great and important indicator of global warming.
Okay.
When they come out that's key. Also, they eat pests, but they will leave good insects like honeybees alone. So great for the ecology. By the way, though, they are venomous. They do have toxins, so don't touch them or worse, eat them.
Oh, please don't eat them.
Yeah, that was like a quote from an expert. So 먹지 마세요.
먹지 마세요. 만지지도 말고.
만지지 마세요.
Don't touch. All right, but let's highlight another public official whose small but significant idea has now become a crucial aspect of the country's expressways. What
Right,
is
so
this?
we're going back almost a decade, but this is such a staple of the country's expressways. We don't even think about them.
Right.
The green and pink lines.
I
the guidelines.
live by them.
As, by the way, I have zero sense of direction.
Yes.
I got lost hiking this weekend, and it's the mountain that I've been to dozens of times. I don't know, the trail disappeared. 아니, 그 길이 없어졌거든요.
어떻게 길이 없어요?
아, 없어지더라고. It just happened.
비가 와서.
No, it didn't rain.
I was trying to help you.
And things are bone dry, but it just
Right.
disappeared. So these lines are, once again, they're life-saving. So the ramp guidelines were installed back in 2016. And in a single year, decreased expressway accidents by 27%. Another public official must be credited, Mr. Yoon Seok-deok of the Korea Expressway Corporation. And he came up with it when he was working, he still works there, but for especially these Hwaean expressways, Ansan interchange, notorious for the accidents because the ramps kind of cross each other. So he got the idea from his kids drawing with crayons. So he's like, what if I just slap that onto the roads? But that was actually illegal at the time because the law back then said that the roads may only be painted yellow, white, orange, red, or blue. So pink and green were not options. But there are ways to bypass this if it is deemed to be a proactive governance for public benefit. The police helped him. He also worked with the local painter who it's not just regular paint for the walls. It needs to have reflectors in there to shine, and it needs to be very durable.
Yes.
So due to hard work of these groups of people, we have safer highways.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's so useful.
It saves lives.
Because, with your GPS, with navigation, they tell you, take this road.
Take
and
the
you're always
green.
but then it's I get nervous.
I know.
Take lane number 3. I'm like, but is that the green one or the
are we
pink
counting
one?
from the left or the right?
Exactly. I get nervous. So thank you for going over all the great ideas and all the Woggly stories. And of course, we'll check in with you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
All right, now it's back to you, the wavers out there. Here's your updated traffic and weather. for your updated traffic. There is an accident to report on Luno Samsungdaedo from Myeongho intersection to Myeongji Dongjin underpass. Right past the intersection is where the collision has occurred. Also congested on Byeonglo right around the Wondong interchange in both directions. Backed up on Gwangan Bridge on the upper portion of the bridge. That's so heading from Hyundai going towards Namcheon. Heavy traffic on Jungangdaedo from Chwacheon three-way intersection to Yeongju intersection. Currently, it's 14 degrees Celsius. Here in Busan under clear skies, it's going to go up to 19. However, bad fine dust and ultra dust levels. Across the country, dry air, strong winds along the eastern part of the country with high risks of fire. Bad fine dust levels basically across the country, so I'm going to call it a mask day today. This was traffic and weather. And this is Two Hearts by Phil Collins as requested by Umberto. Welcome back. That was a good one from Phil Collins, was it not? So today we've been talking about like current inventions or ideas, past also, or things that you really want to see in the future. And I know this is like going to sound so kind of like mundane, maybe even cliche, maybe even boring. So I was thinking about all the inventions in our lives that are really, really useful. We've already talked about things like in passing, like the smartphone. I mean, can we like live without our smartphone? But when you think about like the origin of the computer, like back in the day, computers used to take up the entire room. 방에 가득 찼다고 하잖아요, computer. And then the evolution of such, getting smaller, more compact. And some of you probably remember when your monitor was not thin, it like stuck out, like it was like huge. And that shrunk to these flatter monitors. And then now these are technically like computers, are they not? Just in our hands. So pretty amazing as well. 2391 says this. 손만 대면 자동으로 깎아주는 손톱 깎기요. 나이가 드니 손톱 깎는 것도 귀찮아요. 요마는 건 like the way you speak sounds very young, but then 아니 나이가 어떻게 되면 손톱 깎는 것도 귀찮아질까요? Is my question. Is it that cumbersome to clip your fingernails? I don't know. Maybe like 발톱 because you got to bend over. But the 손톱, the fingernails? Not really. I don't know. I respectfully kind of disagree on that front. I'm just making fun of you, 2391. So thank you for that message as well. And also, I see a message regarding AI saying like, AI is like in every aspect of our lives and it's going to continue to be so. So I agree. Like AI, we can't get away from it. It is affecting and influencing and impacting almost every like part of our lives when you think about it as well. So that's a great invention too. Well, we're going to get into our special interview to find out about these tariffs. On April 2nd, the United States plans to implement new reciprocal tariffs, targeting countries that impose higher tariffs on U.S. goods. So this initiative aims to address trade imbalances by imposing higher tariffs on countries that impose significant tariffs on U.S. goods. The semiconductor and automobile sectors might be excluded from these tariffs, reflecting maybe a targeted approach, but not set in stone from what we understand. Let's find out more about the significance of these tariffs, not just on one country like Korea, but globally this is an issue. So joining us is Dr. Jonathan Ernest, assistant professor in the Department of Economics in the Weatherhead School of Management at Case Western Reserve University. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So first of all, if you could explain, as far as you understand, the main reasons behind the U.S. Decision to implement reciprocal tariffs. And I believe that they're going to go into effect April 2nd, right?
Yeah, so as of now, there's this plan to have these sort of wide-ranging tariffs on a number of countries, including potentially Korea. The idea is that the Trump administration feels that the U.S. has been unfairly targeted with tariffs from other nations, and we're trying to balance those out in some way and charge similar tariffs kind of back in the other direction. It seems as though it's really sort of had the opposite effect to this point. So we've seen some tariffs discussions, some tariffs been implemented or delayed, depending, especially from the U.S. On countries like Mexico and Canada. And essentially what it's done so far is caused companies in the U.S. to rush to import a lot of goods and services before those tariffs might go into place. And so we've actually seen these trade imbalances, which has been proposed as part of the reason for wanting to put these reciprocal tariffs in place, actually grow a little bit as the U.S. has imported more rather than less, at least in the lead up to these potential tariffs.
I see. So when we look at these countries that might be affected, so how does the U.S. determine which country might be affected by these new tariffs? I mean, is there a list they go through and look at like, oh, this country has tariffs against American goods at this rate? Is there a list that they go through?
Yeah, so the phrasing has been we're going to put reciprocal tariffs as the U.S. on nations that have very high tariffs in return. The way that it's sort of been laid out, though, is that would take a tremendous amount of time to go through and figure out not only tariffs on individual products, but restrictions on, tariffs with a lot of countries. There are trade agreements that go into place where once you import a certain amount of a particular good, then it gets charged at a higher rate, things like that. And so it would take a tremendous amount of labor to go through and figure out each of those tariffs and really have kind of a targeted tariff in return. And so there's been this more blanket approach that said, well, President Trump has said for years that he doesn't like the trade imbalance and the trade deficit that the U.S. runs with several nations. And so he seems to be targeting sort of the top 10 to 15 nations that the U.S. has the largest trade imbalance with, and with putting some sort of reciprocal tariffs on those to try to close those gaps and have the U.S. import less from those countries, and presumably still have some more exports going out to them to keep that trade balance somewhat closer. Yeah.
Yes. So thus far, if we go looking at that list, like which sectors are most likely being impacted by these tariffs? And as I said in the opening, that semiconductor and the automobile industries, they might be excluded. So I guess it's not firm or set yet. But looking at the list, are there some sort of similarities as to which industries or sectors are impacted the most?
Yeah, so it's sort of a changing by day, as it's been with most of these proposed tariffs over time, where sometimes it's more blanket tariffs on either countries overall or industries overall that are threatened. And sometimes it's a slightly more targeted approach where if the Trump administration becomes aware of a very high tariff that's imposed on U.S. exports to another country, that they may, hone in on that particular industry. But we've seen a kind of pullback from saying, we might put tariffs on something like the semiconductor or automotive industries. The idea there is there's been a large push to onshore those sorts of types of manufacturing and production in the U.S. And so putting tariffs on those might help to encourage more of that to occur. But at the same time, those are the types of industries that take a long time to develop plants to be able to come online and actually start producing. And so we might not see that onshoring for a very long period of time. And so my guess is that that's part of the reason for the pullback on some of these industries is that we would be drastically reducing the sort of availability to U.S. consumers of those types of products for a period of time until, plants could be built and ramped up, et cetera.
Right. So going back to what you said earlier, Professor, about this blanket approach when it comes to maybe looking at the trade imbalance figures more so than like directed tariffs. Do you think that this approach is actually helping U.S. consumers? Because ultimately, might they not be the persons or parties who are actually paying more for certain goods?
Yeah, so if your goal is to reduce the trade imbalance or the trade deficit in that case, then a blanket tariff might be a reasonably effective tool in doing so. But if your goal is to have more widely available goods at lower prices for U.S. consumers, then tariffs are typically not the way that economists would suggest going about that on a grand kind of overall scale. There may be individual tariffs that can be useful for national security purposes, things like that. But in general, tariffs overall are essentially taxes, which no matter who you put them on are going to be kind of proportionally shared in some way by both those that you're putting the tariff on and the consumers on the other side in this case.
Right. And so now if we can look at what the potential effects these tariffs could have on global trade relationships, and namely, because the U.S., South Korea, the ROK, and the U.S. Traditionally, staunch allies, always a phrase, ironclad alliance, as they say. But could this really affect the relationship or strain the relationship between the two sides?
Yeah, so for the past several decades, we've seen a lot of movement toward things like free trade agreements. We've seen since about 2012, kind of the more current iteration of the free trade agreement between the U.S. And South Korea. And these have essentially been aimed at reducing trade barriers and improving the ability for countries to take advantage of comparative advantage. If something can be produced using resources more effectively and for a lower cost in Korea and then shipped to the U.S., that's wonderful for U.S. consumers and to take advantage of, and the same thing kind of in the opposite direction. The more that we see these trade wars sort of ramp up, and the less trust that's imbued in the process, the more that we might see a breakdown of that and difficulties having those sort of relationships going forward.
I see. And while we're on the topic of Korea, the latest news that we have is that Hyundai is going to be investing overall $21 billion in the U.S. and in return has apparently received tariff exemption. That's according to the White House as well. So do you think that in this regard, what Trump and his administration are trying to do, that it's kind of working at least where, companies seem to be at least bowing down to, what he wants, investment in America?
Yeah, so it's kind of a blurry picture right now. So the question is, would Hyundai have made these same choices outside of these tariff threats, or is it directly in response to it? Again, these types of plants that you may build, choosing to locate in the U.S. is often done based on sort of most efficient, low-cost place for production.
Right.
Hyundai already has a few plants around the U.S., and they're trying to say, well, we're going to take advantage of, better steel production, produce more locally so that maybe if there are more tariffs in the future, we're not as subject to those. But it's a costly, potentially costly thing to do. If these tariffs aren't in place for very long, then it puts you at somewhat of a disadvantage if you relocate to a higher cost place to produce. And so it's sort of a gamble for companies. And right now, that's a difficult gamble to decide to make or not make, as there's a lot of uncertainty about how long particular tariffs will be in place and how long it would be an advantage producing in one place versus another.
Thank you for answering that. And when we look at these tariffs and the influence on the global economy at large, particularly in terms of things like supply chains and international trade agreements, right? So what does this seem like in at least the short term, at least for the next 4 years, what does it look like?
Yeah, so as I said, kind of for decades, we've seen movements toward more free trade, but that's really kind of produced this world is flat production process where we decide if we want to make a vehicle, we can make each component of that vehicle and assemble it in a different place wherever it's most efficient to do so. That's led to a lot of, just-in-time production practices, supply chains that are very reliant on having parts come in at the right time to assemble them. And if these tariffs disrupt those supply chains, essentially what it means is hold up problems and difficulties producing goods at the times that we originally planned. If you're trying to make a vehicle, but you find out that it's going to be 30% more expensive to produce and bring in one component, that might make it much less competitive and less profitable. And so we're going to see a lot of disruption to that. What we'll likely see is a different impact on different industries and different companies within those industries, depending on how large and globalized they already are, and depending on how far-reaching these tariffs become. So initially, we saw tariffs on, the U.S. Was putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and some on China. And a lot of companies may have said, well, perhaps we can move our production from those nations to another nation that's not facing a tariff. But if it's now facing one of these additional tariffs, then that kind of puts limits on those sort of plans. So it creates a lot of difficulties in finding those most efficient supply chains and utilizing them to produce quality, low-cost products.
And so as we look ahead, we can't decide on behalf of the Trump administration of how they're going to be imposing these tariffs. So how can countries adopt to these types of circumstances right now to kind of mitigate the impact of these tariffs on their respective economies?
Yeah, so there's sort of two parts to the question. One is how can you kind of limit the number of tariffs that might be imposed? Typically, de-escalating a trade war is going to require more trust, more diplomacy, more creating agreements that work for both parties. But also there's the idea of kind of pitching what works and making sure that the information that's out there is factual and relevant. And so there's been a lot of talk of, say, Korea having really unfair tariffs on the U.S. But when we look at the free trade agreement and we look at the actual tariffs that are placed on the U.S. goods being exported to Korea, imported there, it's actually a very low kind of average tariff that's put in place. And so making that more clear that really there are these agreements in place and they're doing a great job of encouraging trade in both directions. And that trade imbalances on their own aren't necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. I always discuss that I have a huge trade imbalance with, say, the grocery store, where I spend way more money and bring in way more goods than I take the other way.
Yes,
that's fine. We're allowing the market to decide where those goods should be placed, and so relying on those and the value that can come from it will hopefully convince parties to make the right decisions moving forward and move towards more efficiency.
Ah, yes. What a great analogy. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise with our listeners on this very hot topic. Thank you, Professor. Take care.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
This was Dr. Jonathan Ernest, and we talked about the global tariffs. They are looming. And once again, in the latest news, Hyundai Motor Group investing a $21 billion investment in the U.S. through 2028. Very much welcomed by Donald Trump himself, the U.S. president. And we'll see if this is a sign of things to come in the future. And I'll be back in just a moment.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It's time for the health and our guru, cult leader, in the best way possible, though. We say it lovingly. Bonnie is here.
Yeah, we keep saying it. I don't know if it sounds any better, but
okay, how about just
saying
our health leader?
Okay.
How about that? Health leader. Oh, we'll change it.
Oh, thank you. Good morning.
Our good morning text topic today.
Okay.
Past, present, future. In your, opinion, what's like the best invention ever, or something that like you can like kind of imagine? Let me give you some examples to give you time to think. Some people are saying the AC. Whoever invented the air conditioner, like genius.
Yes,
right. So that's one invention a lot of people are getting behind. So people want to have a teleportation device. To be able to, move around from here to there.
Oh, that's a good one.
And yeah, so
okay, I always think I still cannot figure out how this works.
Okay.
But just photography.
Photography,
like the camera. Yeah, I think it is a crazy thing that we can capture a real life image on a piece of, and then video, of course. But the first person that figured this out, I still don't really understand how they figured out how to freeze a moment in time and put it on paper.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's still mind-boggling to me. I really don't understand it.
That's a good one, because some people, we take it for granted.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy now. I'm
Nowadays,
sure all of us have a billion pictures on our phones.
But still.
We can alter them, and now it's, gone to the AI version of changing things.
Yeah, but back in the day,
from what they had and how they figured that out, I am still so impressed by that.
That's a good one. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, what are we talking about today?
Okay, so today we are going to talk about feng shui.
Feng Feng shui.
Yes. Do you know a lot about this?
No, I don't. I've heard of the term, and I've heard about it in bits and pieces.
Yes.
Like, I know, like, Las Vegas casinos, they practice feng shui in a way that they want people to, like, lure people in and keep them there.
And this is actually a full-on job for some people. You can hire somebody to come into your home and feng shui your whole home. And this is kind of like a way of life as well. But it's an ancient Chinese practice that focuses on harmonizing individuals with their environment by balancing the flow of energy.
Yes.
So feng means wind, shui means water, and we use this concept in the home to create balance and flow in the overall life, and that in that way you bring in harmony into your life. So we are going to be talking about feng shui as in design. So how we're going to use it in our home, how we can use it functionally in our home, and how that might help us.
Yes. And so, by the way, for our Korean listeners, we say feng shui, but it's 풍수. Oh, that's how it said it. Because I was trying to look it up, and my producer, she's psychic, and so she typed it in for me. Because I was like,
thank you.
Trying to pay attention to Bonnie, and I was like, feng shui in Korean.
What is it?
It's 풍수. Yes. Yes.
So in this way, we're going to use feng shui, 풍수 in the home. How we're going to design our house to bring in more balance and harmony. And I'll go over first the 4 principles.
Yes.
And these are taken from thespruce.com, which is kind of a feng shui home living blog. So if you would like to know more about this, go visit them.
Okay.
But the first principle is qi, our life force or energy. So this is a major component in feng shui. And for example, in a really large room, if you don't have a lot of furniture, this actually can overwhelm the qi and make you feel a little bit lost. But in a small room, if you have a lot of furniture, a lot of clutter, then your qi doesn't have space to move around, in turn making you feel kind of claustrophobic or causing stagnation. So it doesn't give you a lot of movement. The second principle is commanding position. So this is the spot farthest from the door, but not directly in line with it. So if you're standing in front of this commanding position, you cannot see the door right in front of you, but kind of like at the corner of your eye, at a diagonal. And this is the place where you want to put the most prominent piece of furniture, where you will sit the most. So maybe in a bedroom, your bed, maybe in the office, your desk, and in the kitchen, your stove.
Okay.
And then the next principle is the bagua. Bagua is the feng shui energy map. So this is the Chinese word for 8 areas, and each of these areas correlates with a different area of life, like wealth, health, relationships, etc. Each area also corresponds with a shape, a color, a season, a number, and an element. And we'll get deeper into these a little bit later.
Okay.
And then the last principle are the 5 elements. So the 5 elements of nature. And we use these to balance each other out, and we use them in the home together. So these are earth, metal, wind, water, and fire. And these also correlate with different qualities.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a huge map. Okay, so we have the 4 principles down. And now I'm going to go into how you can use these principles in your home. Okay, so get your pen and paper out if you're interested in this. The first thing you want to do is declutter and organize. And we went over this last week about minimalizing what we don't need, right? Going through your home, kind of picking out what doesn't bring you joy anymore, what doesn't bring you that spark of happiness, like what is just there to be there. If it's not functional, if it's not actually being used for anything, and if it's not bringing you happiness, then maybe that needs to go. Right? We talked about this last week. So clutter, it also blocks the positive energy and creates stagnation in your home. So you want to keep things clean and organized to allow that qi or energy to flow freely throughout your home. And you want to look through your things and really decide, like we talked about last week, what brings value, what doesn't. Okay, first step. Next thing is also fix broken things. If you have something that is broken and you think, oh, I'm going to get to this, I'm going to fix it, but you haven't yet, then maybe you need to get rid of it or actually fix it. Get on it.
Okay, get on it.
Next, don't leave dishes in the sink. Like, that's the kind of decluttering. The kitchen represents wealth, so you don't want to block it up. Okay. The next step is using the bagua map. So this bagua map helps determine where to place your furniture that's going to enhance the specific areas of your life. So, for example, the southeast area of your home represents wealth. You don't want to, so you want to place plants or or maybe small water features that will encourage prosperity.
Ooh, to kind of flow.
Yes,
I get it.
bring it in. The next part is balance the 5 elements. So you want to incorporate the 5 elements in your home equally.
Okay.
So, for example, the first one is wood. Wood represents growth and vitality. So if you are in a place where you want to grow in your career, grow personally, then these are the elements you want to bring into your home. Things that are rectangular, green and blues, the feeling of spring, that's the season, and also these are the areas of family and wealth. So you want to add plants or wooden furniture into your house.
Got it.
Next thing is fire. This represents passion, energy, and these are triangular things, pointy things. The color is red. The season is summer. So for example, you want to add candles, maybe a little fireplace, and I know that's not realistic in a lot of Korean apartments, but maybe one of those little fake fireplaces.
Oh, those are popular.
They have, those have the little screen-like things. Red colors and actually lamps. Lamps also represent fire in this. The next element is earth. This represents stability, grounding, and wellness, knowledge, partnership. So if you want to better this in your life, then you want things that are flat or square, the color brown, orange, yellow, and like ceramic stone things that are yellow tones. The next element is metal.
Yes.
And this is clarity, precision. So if you're having a hard time making decisions, like myself, then maybe I want to incorporate more of these kinds of things into my home, which are circular, something that is white, metallic, a gray color, and so like metal decor. So maybe you want to have some something on your table that is a silver metallic sense, or maybe you want to have like a planter that's a metallic
like up
color.
to now, I think I have most of it. The only metallic thing I have is like my refrigerator, which is like no, it's like the metallic steel kind.
Oh,
so that's like
that's a good one. I think
one thing.
I
can't remember anything else that's like metallic.
So as I was going through these, I actually was also going through my home thinking, what do I not have? And I thought I actually don't have many circular objects and not a lot of gray tones as well. So I thought maybe next I need to go and pick up a circular gray flower vase or something.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, the last element we have is water. And this represents flow and abundance. And the area of your career. So we want things that are wavy, curvy, black, and things that represent this. Mirrors. Mirrors in your home. Fountains, like a little mini fountain. Blue tones. And if you're thinking, well, I cannot put actual water in my home. It's really difficult to do that. Pictures of water elements. That counts as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Plus the whole mirror thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to get some mirrors up.
And where you place the mirror is very important as well. So I will get to that also.
Yes.
Another tip, you want to optimize your entryway. So the front door is the mouth of the chi, where your energy comes in and out. So you want to keep it clean and welcoming. So no clutter. And I know in Korean apartments, this might be a little bit difficult because I know, yes, in the Korean apartment, we usually have shoes, we usually have slippers, we have storage things. So maybe instead of having an open place where you keep all the shoes, having it be in a closed container of some sort. So you can kind of hide the clutter away in there and
that
it's
makes
not out in the open.
Doable.
You want to sweep it often, so you don't want a lot of dust and dirt at your entryway.
Yes.
And even washing your door.
The door itself.
TheSpruce.com put this on there. You want to wash your door often. And I thought, well, maybe the outside of the door, I think maybe hopefully the apartment people, maybe.
Hopefully.
Maybe
not.
they do a little bit of this.
Yes.
But the inside of, I don't think I've ever washed the inside of my door.
I've never washed it. I've wiped down the handle of the door.
Yes.
Especially like during the COVID era. And ever since then, like wiping it down periodically.
Yeah.
But not like the actual door.
Yeah, not the actual door.
Right.
We never really think of this.
No.
So now I might try this and see. Maybe after I see what comes off of it, I might want to. This might not be so possible for a Korean apartment as well. But if possible, having it be well lit. So having like a light fixture of some sort. So if that's not possible for you, because we live in an apartment, at least having the entryway after you walk in being well lit. If you can't have the outside. But if you live somewhere that is out in the countryside, you have your own home, make sure the entryway, the doorway outside is well lit. And maybe add a rug or a warm color doormat. So it welcomes people in. It's a warm, welcoming color.
Okay.
Do we have time for one more element?
Yeah, just one more.
Okay. So arranging your furniture thoughtfully. So for example, in your living room, you want to arrange the seating in a circular or semicircular fashion for better energy flow.
Okay.
And
So
this
circular.
is also a commanding position tip. When you are sitting at your desk or lying on your bed or cooking at your stove,
Yes.
can you see your door, but not directly in front of the door?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not directly.
Yes. So the door isn't behind you. So somebody can't like sneak up on you.
Oh, that's
Can
scary.
you?
Oh, just a thought of that. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's a safety tip also.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to make sure that you can see the door, but you're at a diagonal with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, can we do?
Yes,
is
we're
there
going to
enough
have a part 2 because
Okay.
I have more tips and then also specific room tips for you. So
We look
part
forward
2
to
next
it.
week.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Bonnie. And for you, the waivers out there, I do want to remind you once again, because we have all these fires burning. The guidelines for wildfire prevention, there are multiple simultaneous wildfires that are burning across the country from the dry weather. So please do not burn rice paddies or banks around fields, agricultural debris or trash in forest adjacent areas. When you're hiking or visiting family graves, do not carry or handle lighters, cigarettes, or other type of fires or firearms. Do not throw cigarettes outside the window when you're driving. And by the way, if your negligence causes a wildfire, that means you may be subject to up to 3 years in prison or up to 30 million won in fines. Just a reminder, we need to be careful. So here's our final song for today. This is Hello Future by NCT Dream as requested by Benny. Let's be safe out there. Bye, everybody.
시작이라는 걸 넌 믿을 수 있겠니 이제야 사랑을 할 것 같아 Radio 나 갖는 거야 너를 믿어 Soldiers knocking doors down Yelling now 천천히 갔던 시간들은 모두 뒤로 보내 웃음이 소리치네 달려가 말아봐 If you're rockin' with me oh, oh. Come on, here we go Satellite radio 내 미래 전해줘 세상과 정광야 위로 후회 없이 사랑했다고 말하게 기다려서 somewhere 어디든 we're coming together 아무 걱정하지 마 즐길 거야 Hello future 너를 만나 같이 더 빛나게 We on the way up We on the way up 아름다운 시간만 쌓자 Hello future On our way up Hello future 미래에 너를 좋아하게 됐어 경계 위로 손을 맞대면 우리 너무 닮아 있어 모두 찾게 될지 결국 웃게 될지 지금부터 운명이라고 해 Bang 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 Fire fire 자욱한 연기 속에 살아남은 그 작은 꽃처럼 Straight facts 같은 시간 속에 너를 사랑하고 있어 Here we go 날개를 펼치고 또 꺾이고 다쳐도 누구보다 강한 너잖아 미래의 미래도 널 사랑하는 걸 기다려서 somewhere 어디든 we're coming together 아무 걱정하지 마 즐길 거야 Hello future 너를 만나 같이 더 빛나게 아름다운 시간만 쌓자 I'm tryna center me 해외로 center me 흔들리지 않게 걸어 나아갈 수 있을지 수만 있으니 거꾸로 갔던 난 트로피 그 어디쯤 너 기다리고 있을지 멀지 않아 눈을 떠봐 내가 원한 모든 건 나뿐이라고
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재